What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Midnight Happy Hour with Monk and Lou. We've got a special guest for UFC 305. We've got Big Steve in the house. What is going on, Steve? How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Hello, my friends. Thanks for having me. Mix it up a little bit. No one seems to be watching my show anymore, so I thought I'd come on someone else's.
There you go.
Should be fun.
There you go. Lou, well, we appreciate you having you here. Lou, how's it going? Good to see you. Good to be back on another Thursday. Happy for this pay-per-view in between two awesome cards.
Yeah, this is the last day that I can have blind confidence in Manchester United, because then once tomorrow happens, reality sets in. This team's not so good. So right now, and Big Steve, also a United fan, listen, we're top of the table right now. As of right this second, top of the table. We win tomorrow. Sole possession of first place for at least a day. Got to take it while we enjoy it. And glad to see we got some nonsense in chat already. Glad to have Steve here. As always, Monk, you and your head and beard are always a pleasure.
That's true. Freshly shorn, as it were. Yeah, but guys, speaking of the chat, shout them out. Jared's in here. Kristen. Luke is in here. Dogfather. I heard you were Australian. Is that true? Damare Sims is in here. What's up, Mateus, as well? Kiwi, Prince, everybody.
Thanks for heartbreaker, this man.
Joining us. There you go. Yeah, so hit the like, hit the sub on the channel. I saw that we did hit over 200, so we really do appreciate that.
Will Trump make an appearance? Do we think Trump's going to make an appearance?
Gotta be. He doesn't have shit going on lately, so.
Nice. He's it's fine.
Not shit at all. So, yeah, we're going to be breaking down a little betting lines, a little DraftKings. We'll get you in and out for UFC 305. Without further ado, here we go. Look at this guy. It's the best picture I could find. What's this guy's name? Stuart Nickel taking on Jesus Aguilar. Stuart, the debutant, is minus 229, 9K this week on DraftKings. Aguilar plus 194, 7,200. Fight doesn't go as plus 100. That plus should be on there. And the over under 2.5, the over is minus 150. Steve, since you are our esteemed guest, please give us your take. Start us off here on this fight, Nickel and Aguilar.
All righty. Had a feeling you were going to palm this one off to me. I have no idea. As an extreme hardcore fan of MMA and UFC, never heard of Stuart Nickel in my life, and also being from Australia, which is wild. And yeah, watched every single fight of his, and yeah, I guess he's a grappler. He's good at it, supposedly. And I just quickly moved on. I moved on. It's impossible to get a read. There's not one good fighter whatsoever. Even this Danish Moodley, who was 8-4 at the time, he is now a lot worse than 8-4. And this Isai Kitano guy that's 5-0 that he beat in his last one, it's just 0-0 all the way through. So padded record. I think this beatdown promotion obviously is in Queensland. Some people said, why isn't he fighting in Eternal MMA? The Eternal MMA is the whole craze now, since a couple of guys went into the UFC. But he's Queensland. I know Lou knows better. It's like on the other side of Australia. It's not easy just to go and to the other side of Australia just to be in a promotion. He's got easy wins. But yeah, impossible to tell. Obviously, he can grapple. We've seen Aguilar grappled. But I just don't know how good of an MMA fighter he is. I don't know how he handles adversity. I have no idea. But I have a soft spot for Aguilar. I think he's really good. I think he's got power. Obviously, that guillotine and constantly pulling for that guillotine instead of stuffing takedowns is quite annoying, especially if you have money on him. I don't know if he's going to get that on Stuart Nickel. But I'm going to circle back around to this one. I'm going to see if there's anything on tape that kind of tells me a bit more about him. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I need to use some discipline and don't. He could be the real deal. Who knows? Maybe he is just as good as Tatsuro Taira. Who knows? But I went on his Facebook. I watched his grappling fight, and he won an absolute division, right? I think he's 62 kilos, and he beat his Serbian grappler who is a heavyweight for the gold, and he's huge. And I was like, just how bad is this grappler? Like, it was 0-0, and then they stood up, and then he allowed Nicole to take him down for an easy 2 points. I'm like, you're 100 and something kilos. Just take the 63 kilo midget down first. And that's how the huge guy lost. And then I Googled the huge guy, and apparently he's like first of all, he's Serbian, so I was ashamed. And then secondly, he's one of the better grapplers in Australia. He beat Saunders, who's like our Gordon Ryan at the moment. and he's on all the steroids in Australia. He's competed at ADCC last year and he's competing this year. So I'm like, wow, this guy really is a good grappler, and Nicol beat him. So maybe he's the real deal. Who knows? Maybe he just comes out here and just rinses Aguilar for 3 rounds, stays safe, get out of his guillotine, and puts it on him. But tons of questions for me at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I pretty much agree there for DraftKings. He's 9K. That's super expensive this week. We got a couple other 9K guys. I'd rather save $100 and play maybe Jairzinho for some big round 1 upside. Nicol could get it done. I just got to see it first. Believe me, I'm not a huge fan of Aguilar. One of his wins is Shannon Ross. You can't even use that. So he scored 60 against Mendoza, not the best, but at 7,200, I think he's worth a punt. And I got to see it from Nicol before I put him in any kind of lineup ownership. Lou, what do you think? Anything to add to the Nicol debate here? 8 wins so far.
I mean, the only way I'm never playing this guy at minus 200 in his debut with this schedule. But Aguilar, man, I mean, I'm not even sure he beat Mendonça.
Right.
Close fight. I don't love that Steve brought up that this guy's like a gilly merchant. I don't love that because I think if he goes for one, he's just going to be on his back for probably the majority of the round. The one thing I'd say here from a betting perspective is see what it looks like after 1, because at least we know Aguilar can fight 15 minutes. His cardio is decent. See what we don't know what Nicol's going to look like. It's his debut, maybe an adrenaline dump. You know, if he's going for a lot of takedowns, if he's pushing a crazy pace early and not hurting Aguilar, you might get a really good price on him. But I mean, Aguilar is just one of these guys where like, I probably need a bigger price on him to invest in him, even against an unknown guy at this point. So, I mean, I didn't really learn a lot about Aguilar in 2 of his 3 fights at this level. I learned nothing about him in the Shannon Ross fight.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't learn anything about him in the Tyra fight. The Mendonça fight, at least you're seeing like he's gamey, he'll scramble, but he makes a lot of mistakes. I mean, it's, he's like the guy in your office that's there early making coffee, but it's shitty coffee. Like he's trying. So, like, I respect that. But see what it looks like after 1 round. If he hasn't been damaged and Nicol looks like maybe he just expended a lot of energy, you're getting +3 something or better. It might be worth a poke.
There we go. That's the first fight of the night. Here to a few much less happier looking gentlemen than one Stuart Nicol. We've got Song Kenan taking on Ricky Glenn, -180 for Song. 8,700. Ricky Glenn +155, 7,500. Fight doesn't go -180, and the under 1.5 is just +115. Lou, start us off here. What do you like?
I'd like to know who dropped the bomb once this line got back to like 150 something, who like gambused the line back to the 180 range. I mean, it's a total pass for me. This isn't even dog or pass. This is a pass. This is a pass on the total. It's a pass on the side. I don't love Song as a favorite ever. I get it. Song's a favorite because we're basing it on Glenn being shot.
Right.
Maybe the move up will help him. I don't know what kind of future he's going to have at 170 here, but I have nothing to add to this fight. This is a complete stay away from me.
Yeah, let's see here. We'll go to me. Same for DFS. Like Song Kenan, he's not putting. I mean, he put up 107 against Callan Potter. All right, sweet. 73 against Bedoya. I'm not really expecting a ton. Honestly, I don't even know if I really like the fight doesn't go. I think this could easily go to decision, to be quite honest. Obviously, I do think Ricky Glenn probably a bit shot, but also Song Kenan's got power, but I don't think he's some world beater. Ricky Glenn last beat Joaquim Silva, scored a crazy amount of points. He got that first minute finish, but other than that, I mean, he's just getting out here getting dominated by like Giagos. Drew Dober, he scored 2 points. So I'm gonna take a risk and probably pass on this for DraftKings, even though it's a -180 fight doesn't go. Usually I'm not into that whole thing, but I just think Ricky Glenn's too expensive, and I've never been one to rush to roster Song Kenan. So Big Steve, you got anything for this one that interests you?
Yeah, I first taped it for the under 1.5, plus money, kind of got my interest. Back in the day when I was a much more casual bettor, I used to just clean up with old mate Song and just running through Nash. I was about to say Kevin Nash. I forgot what his real name is. Nash and the Rockstar Porter in Australia as well. They used to bring him to Australia just to beat these bums. And obviously he hasn't got a knockout in a hot minute. So I feel like people are almost forgetting that this guy, has a piston of a right hand and, taking a step down. I don't think Ricky Glenn's ever been a bad fighter, 22-8. But in terms of, who he's fought recently, it's just, this guy used to be a featherweight and now he's a welterweight. Surely there's something in, saying, can he take a punch from a natural welterweight? Like, he's getting knocked out by Drew Dober, which is whatever. Giagos is a little bit concerning, but that guy always swings heat in the first 5 minutes. So yeah, washed, old, flying to Australia, and now a lot of people think this is going to go over, but I'm stuck in two minds. I wouldn't be playing the under just because I think it's all Song correlated, and also I do think it's chinny as well, old mate Song, but I don't think Glenn's going to bring that out of him, even though he's got that really meme knockout over Joaquim Silva. So yeah, I'm looking at this. I see the popular players now to play the money line. It's extremely scary. I think Song is big moment reliant. But yeah, I feel like, it's definitely not dog or pass. So I'm one and one so far. The first one was dog or pass. This one is favorite and pass. So for anyone keeping track, I know Luke is. Make his job a little bit easier in the chat. But yeah, I'm interested in maybe if I bet Song KO, it's just gonna piss me off. He's gonna have 2 or 3 knockdowns like against Bedoya. Maybe old mate's durability is a bit better up at welterweight, but I think this is his retirement fight. Why move up to welterweight now? And the one thing is, he's always been a tall, lanky featherweight / lightweight. Song actually same height and bigger reach, so this could be a complete new thing for Glenn. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to his old fights. I went back all the way to Kevin Aguilar, and he got rocked in round 1, round 3. So he was kind of lucky not to get knocked out there. And then I'm going to go back in 2017 and see how he goes against the really tall and lanky Miles Jury, just to see how his 15-minute equity goes, Like, what does he actually do? He tried to grapple really hard against Aguilar, so maybe he'll do that here. But I'll go back. I'll watch those fights. There's a theory that would probably look better back then. But yeah, Song or pass for me. I feel like there's going to be a play here. Maybe I just jump on the money line like a square head, but we'll see.
There we go. And to answer this, honestly, I don't know. There's a bunch of 9K guys that are going to be popular, like Protest Gamrot, Nolan for sure. Rosenstruik's right there. People might be on Steve Ursig. And then Israel Adesanya is a couple $100 under Song. So he might go a bit overlooked, but I bet it'll be, I don't know, 25-ish. Probably like average ownership, I would assume. Maybe a little bit more just because it's minus 180 to finish. So maybe a little bit over what he usually would go would be my guess. Here we go. Big train. Tom Nolan minus 1150 out of or as of earlier this afternoon. 9,800 taking on Alex Reyes plus 750, 6,400. Fight doesn't go as a whopping minus 1,600, and the under 1.5 is minus 290. I'll start us off here. Yeah, Nolan's 9,800. Get him in your lineup. Like Alex Reyes, this dude was, and I'm not saying this to disparage him, he was literally paralyzed like 4 or 5, 7 years or something. In the recent decade, he was actually paralyzed from some back stuff, like a back surgery or something like that. Incredible story. Road to recovery, fantastic. He's back. But, I mean, this dude's fought like twice since he's made it. Maybe actually once since he's made his return, and it didn't go great. He danced around the outside of danced around the cage, I should say, from in the Charlie Campbell fight. Lasted about 3.5 minutes before he got KO'd. Tom Nolan needs a fucking knockout here. This is absolutely a get-right fight. And I know he just came off of a Victor Martinez KO, but this dude's been knocked down in both of his fights. Alex Reyes has been knocked down in both of his UFC fights. Somebody's going down, and it's going to be Alex Reyes most likely. I don't have a problem fading him to basically 0. Get Tom Nolan in your lineup if you can. Steve, what do you got for this one? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, dude, this is – Alex Reyes is not Nicholas Mata, that's for sure. Big Steve, what do you got here? Anything for Reyes that we should be looking at?
No, he's probably more durable than Nicholas Mata, that's for sure. But that's about it.
Might be true.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not much to play on this card. Almost nothing really. Tom Nolan round 1 minus 200. Yeah, there's nothing. Maybe you can save some time from my breakdown perspective on this one.
There we go. Lou, do you have anything possible to add here?
Yeah, the minus 200 is going to probably seem like value here. My guy Sean Orr said something interesting earlier in the week. He said they bring these guys in like Tom Nolan, these prospects, but they bring them in too soon, and then they have to rebuild them by throwing them up against like shittier washed guys.
Right.
And they tried it with Martinez, and
Well,
he landed a couple of shots. Reyes is there just to collect the check, so
yeah,
I think Nolan, gets him out of there. Dogfather saying, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do here? Like, fight doesn't start round 2 minus 168. That's, I mean, Nolan could get bonked, I guess, but this is about as sanctioned a murder as you're going to find.
I will say it's scary because Reyes wants to grapple, and Nolan on his regional scene, he's been taken down. He's had his back taken by Aiden Aguilar. It kind of extended the fight. Oh, Adam Cook, pardon me. He went into round 2. So I don't know if he's going to grapple. Maybe we see that from Tom Nolan. Maybe we see some weakness in the grapple defense.
There we go. Oh, all right. I don't know what to think about that one. RC, if this is, man, I swear to God, if this happens, I'll find you. I will find you. Next fight. And I think this is the order Tapologist. Somebody has this out of order. I think this is still the order. Jack Jenkins taking on Herbert Burns minus 700 for Jack Jenkins, 9,600, second most expensive fighter on the card. Herbert Burns plus 500, 6,600, or plus 500, 6,600 on DraftKings. Fight doesn't go as minus 600. The under 1.5 is minus 110. Let's see. What fight are we on? 4. Steve, why don't you start us off with Jenkins and Burns?
All right. I'm getting all the barn burners.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it basically comes down to, do you think the under 1.5 has value or not? I keep going back and forth. I've watched the whole career of Jenkins, and I just got reminded how much of a minus EV finisher he is, unless he breaks someone's shin with a leg kick, which, how many times is that going to happen? Probably will happen in this fight because he's fighting Burns. And last time the guy went for a triangle against Algio and broke his own ACL. So anything's possible here. I think I'm going to lock it in, even though it's scary. I feel like you have to give Burns a little bit of finishing upside. As some people mentioned, he went from fighting Pineda, never been submitted before on short notice, to, Algio, the man is almost unsubmittable, fully locked in triangle and just chilled in there. And he always gives his back up and everything. And then, obviously, Julio Arce, who just extremely technical, smart fighter. He didn't let him sniff. The guy didn't throw a punch for 5 minutes straight. All he wanted to do was he just wanted to stop the takedown from Burns. And then round 2, I'm like, wow, anyone that has the unders here, this is completely done. And then round 2, he just throws one punch and he knocks out Burns. And he's not even known for his power. And Burns' cardio looked fine. He got a bit of a break when hitting Arce in the nuts. And just, one punch and he was out. So I'm leaning towards Jenkins, maybe just, he rips the body, he rips the legs, and he's got a good takedown defense. So I just feel like Burns is going to hate that. He's going to hate the body shots. He's going to hate the calf kicks. And, I'm leaning that the under has to have some value. If minus EV finishers like Algio and Arce can get it under 1.5, surely it's Jenkins' time, right, to do something in his own country. But I mean, he couldn't finish Sheamus in his own country, but that's where I'm leaning. And I will add right now, just before Monk intercepts, because I can see his mouth is open, he's ready. Old mate Jenkins puts himself in precarious positions on the ground. Obviously he's been submitted. Everyone is parroting that on their podcasts in his 2 losses, but he avenged one of those losses. I think he's a really good grappler now. But even against that bum on Contender Series, he just took him down and he's mauling him. And then at the end of the round, somehow he ends up in a calf slicer and he's given up his back. And even the commentators are like, oh, he's put himself in this weird position. How did he do that? And then obviously broke his arm from a judo toss. So I think there's an aura of weird submission mistakes against Jenkins grappling. Maybe something weird happens here and then he puts himself in a sub or breaks his knee or puts himself in a calf slicer. So yeah, I think I'll get to this under, and then I'll probably pull my hair out on fight day. We'll see.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Herbert Burns, absolutely. I mean, what are we? I don't even know if this guy wants to be fighting, to be completely honest. Lou, what do you think about this one?
Well, I'm all for like a Burns round one sub play,
That would
but
be awesome.
I'm listening to like all this shit that Gilbert Burns is saying, like the 2 LCL surgeries and shoulder. I mean, it's just this guy's got a litany of physical problems. And, look, we also saw Jenkins like hurt his arm posting against Chepe. Like, I mean, this guy Jenkins doesn't have a killer instinct. To Steve's point, like the leg kick KO, it's actually possible here. But I mean, even if Burns dominates the first round, like, will he get off the stool for the second? I mean, he didn't look like he wanted to against Algeo. And, Algeo, it's like, I know Algeo is like known for having a lot of pace, but Algeo is a notoriously slow starter. So he didn't even put like a crazy pace on Burns till really the end of that round. I got to bring this up because not that past odds really matter, but he's plus 180 against Algeo. He's plus 275 against Arce. And now he's plus 500 against a guy that, I mean, what would Julio Arce do to Jenkins? Like, it's just crazy. Like, these odds on Burns just keep, and he was at minus 260 favorite against Pineda, which is like hilarious in hindsight. But I think Burns probably has a pretty good first round, at least the first half of it. If he goes for a takedown immediately, he should. He doesn't want to get leg kicked here. I mean, I think Burns could keep Jenkins down for a lot of the first round, to be honest. Like, if you're betting this under 1.5, you have to hope that Burns is cooked. Like, you're not betting it on Jenkins' legendary finishing ability. The whole thing's predicated on either Burns getting a submission or not wanting to be there after 4 or 5 minutes. So, Jenkins round 2 is the worst round 2 prop I think I've ever seen. I think it's plus 275. It's like disgusting last I looked. But I think Jenkins probably first minute of round 2 wins this. So under's got some value. Round 1 sub for Burns should be his money line at this point. So I like the under. Small poke on the Burns round 1 sub at 15-1.
Yeah, I like punt play on Burns for just the reasons Lou said. I mean, he's super second cheapest guy on the card. Like, you're going to need some cheap guys if you're getting Tom Nolan in there, if you're getting, whoever is at 93, 92 up there. So you're going to need some cheap guys, and the cheap guys don't look great this week. So I think Burns is a decent punt. It could go very, very, very poorly for us. 28 points against Pineda, 11 against Algeo, 9 against Arce. So, I mean, those numbers all get worse and worse that's how numbers work. So it's not looking good. Also, he barely lands like 2 strikes a minute. He landed 1 strike a minute against Pineda, 1.5 against Algeo, and 2.1 against Julio Arce. I think whichever one of those. So whatever fight Steve said he didn't land a punch for 5 minutes. I think it was the Arce fight. It's very, very obvious in the stats. So this guy, there's no volume. We got to hope for a takedown and control time if you're looking for that punt play. Jack Jenkins, if he busts me, then that's it. If he scores 100 and some, that's fine. I'll deal with it. I'm not interested in playing him too much, just about an average amount, maybe a little bit less, actually. We'll have to see what ownerships come in. Here we go. Yeah, he does need the big moment. He does not need to get carried out of the cage by his brother, unless it's on his shoulders, champion style. Luana Santos taking on King Casey O'Neill, minus 140 for everybody's favorite women's flyweight as of late, 8,600. O'Neill's plus 120, 7,600. Fight doesn't go is plus 160, and the under 2.5. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know, dog. Plus 180. Let's see. Fight number 5. Lou, start us off here. What do you got in this women's fight?
I'm getting nervous because I feel like everybody's against me on this bet, but I feel pretty strongly about the Luana Santos side here. It's one of my favorite bets early in the week. I get that there's a narrative thing. It's short notice, long flight. I got it. I also get that Santos, people, her cardio looked horrible in the 3rd round against Egger. I know that was short notice. It was up a weight class, it was catch weight, I think. Not really worried about that here. Like, my problem with O'Neil is I just don't think she's good. I don't think she ever was really good. I think she was good enough to bully people. Like, I think that's how she wins. She's just a bully, and she puts a lot of pace on, and that works against like Antonina Shevchenko. I just don't think it'll work here. And not only that, but I don't think I think she's so sloppy as the fights start that she makes mistakes. I think Santos can get her down and win the first round at a fairly high clip. If Santos wins the first round, and she's barely she's minus 140, I'll take that all day. O'Neal builds and builds and builds. Watch Jennifer Maia fight. She didn't improve. She didn't change her tactics. Even in the fight she won, it's the same bully style.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can prepare for it. I don't think there's, what? So now she's just been taking more drugs because she's at fight ready. Is that the difference? I think Santos can control her for at least the first round. I think on the feet, I don't think it's a wash either way. But I think Santos is going to have a game plan, just get this fight to the ground. I think she can control O'Neal. Third round could get maybe a little dicey, but I think Santos wins a decision here. Yes, you worry about a little bit of riggery where we are, but I think it can be a pretty clear first 2 rounds for Santos. And then I'm not necessarily sold that she's going to cardio, she's not going to die in the third. So Santos for me. I'm the only person apparently betting Santos.
Yeah, I agree. I like Santos. Look, man, I've had to turn a corner on Casey O'Neal. I think it was 2021 or 2022. I'm not sure. It had to have been 2021. She was the #1 overall DraftKings scorer of the year, and it wasn't even close. And ever since the Roxanne fight, man, it's just been not looking good. I think Lou described it perfectly. She was able to bully people like Laura Procopio, Antonina Shevchenko, Roxanne Modafferi. But then when you step up against Ariana Da Silva, Jennifer Maia, it's not quite as easy to do that with their styles. So Luana Santos not fighting names like Lipsky, like Maia. She's beating Juliana Miller, Stephanie Yeager, and Lou's favorite fighter. No offense, Lou, but Agapova. I don't know. She might be, she's probably the better one that Santos has fought. Either way, Santos is looking relatively good. She scored over 100 points in 2 over 3 wins. I'm liking Santos here. It breaks my heart to have to move on publicly from Casey O'Neal, but it's just not happening lately, man. And it's not happening in a way that looks bad. The optics are bad. She put up 54 against Maia, but she landed 137 strikes. But did she really look good ever in that fight? So yeah, it's just sad. So I'm with Lou here. I'm on Santos. Steve, take us home on the Santos O'Neal fight. Which side do you like?
I can't say that I like the side. It feels kind of accurate at this point. If it was, I think Pepe, it's quite interesting for Lou. Lou's confident on Santos. Pepe, I just listened to a show. 3 units on Casey O'Neal, which,
oh shit.
Yeah, even if Pepe is on a bit of a downswing, usually he tends to not lose the big bomb plays, but you never know. We'll just see. Anyone can lose. Yeah, I typed it, and I like Santos. I think she's underrated. 23. I still kick myself for not playing that minus 150 against Juliana Miller. I actually had this feeling like she was going to KO her from tape, and I didn't do anything about it. The Stephanie Yeager fight, you can throw that out the window. Other than the positives, upper weight class, completely out of shape, sick as well, underprepared, and she beats a girl that's huge for the weight class, and she can put 15 minutes together. So it's like doing comps myself in jiu-jitsu, like out of shape, never works out for me. I get absolutely steamrolled. So this chick just does it in the UFC. So we saw her against Agapova again. In shape, she's someone not to be messed with. Just she didn't drop Agapova as much as I thought. Upon rewatch, it was kind of like a slip, caught kick, overhand right. But she throws down. She's happy to plant and throw. I think if old mate O'Neal tries to do her game, or she just keeps pressuring and throwing the volume, I think Santos is going to be completely fine to plant and counter with strikes.
We have a viewer question, Steve. I'm sorry to interrupt. No. We have a very important viewer question.
I don't think you can even get to half of that, to be honest, a quarter of that. But hey, I wouldn't be able to either. So it is what it is. We're not perfect, us cappers. With Santos, it probably get to like 2.5 minutes, something like that. We should do this with every fighter, including the male ones, when it comes up. I reckon Walter Walker would just run through me in about 20 seconds. it would be pleasant and unpleasant at the same time. Anyway, back to this fight. Yeah, I think Santos has some hardware advantages. For Bishop when she was 21. I think Bishop beats Casey O'Neill. I think she runs through her, honestly. And yeah, she's a bit hittable, so I'm not rushing to play this line. Her takedown is the judo tosses and stuff like that, and she gives her back. You see, Neil can do stuff on the ground. It's just her wrestling sucks. So yeah, I'm not rushing it. Neil just kind of feels like someone that needs to build and get back rounds 2 and 3 when Santos is gassed, and I don't like playing those kind of dogs. I've got live bet available. I'll keep an eye out to see just how gassed Santos gets, and then I'll enter if need be. But I think Santos is definitely better. I think O'Neill has been extremely lucky to even get in the rankings. Like, how did she get in the rankings? Beating Antonina Shevchenko, Laura Procopio, and Roxanne Modafferi. That's in a retirement fight, and it was a split decision. So yeah, shouldn't really be in the rankings. So yeah, give it to Santos. I say she deserves it.
Can I also mention that O'Neill cost me $10,000?
How's that?
Oh, wow.
Because that was like when we first started. I had a 2-leg absurd.
Oh, I remember this.
$12 parlay, Steve. $12 to win $10,000. It was Kyler Phillips round 3 submission against Rojo.
That's right.
And I had it. That was 35 to 1, and I had it parlay with O'Neill round 2 KO. And she got on top of Modafferi in round 2. I'm like, come on, you fucking bitch.
I remember that because we're freaking out on Messenger, like, oh, you fucking got the
I was
sub.
like, there's no fucking way this is gonna hit.
So this is the story behind you hating all the people on Twitter doing juiced parlays. Little $5 to win $50. That's how it originated. It's just the hate.
Dude, I see people posting 6-leg parlays with all these minus 700 legs. And they're like, oh, this is the safety play. It's like, why are you even betting on sports? Like, you want a safety play? Like,
S&P 500, baby.
If you're doing like a 2-leg parlay to get even money, it's fine, I guess. Like, doing these 6-7 leggers where you're like, what's gonna cost me here? What's gonna lose here?
Plus 200.
The fact that like the odds of you're not getting anywhere near the odds, it's terrible, dude. Like,
yeah. Sweating for a plus 200.
One guy parlayed like the U.S. not to lose to fucking Panama, like at like minus 1150, and I'm like, what? That had like, and it was like a $10 bet. I'm like, what the fuck? That had like 25 cents, and then they lost, and I'm like, good, you deserve to lose.
Exactly.
That was Guru, by the way. I'm like, good, you fucking deserved it.
Which one? There's about 100 gurus on Twitter. I can't even keep track anymore.
Chronic Combat, friend of the channel guru.
Oh, right.
Maybe not anymore after I said
that. Yeah. Well, you need to be held accountable for losing bad bets. You know how it is.
It's like, I parlayed Bo Nickel. Congratulations. Good play. Way to pad that. Way to add a lot of value to your parlay.
Hey, free square, dude. Free square.
Oh, I hate the words free square. This is the worst. Yeah, just that's what the draft people use that for DraftKings too. Like last week, Chris Gutierrez was a huge favorite and he was $7K, like super cheap because of late replacement. Free square, doesn't fucking do a goddamn thing. Free square. All right, Josh Cooleybow taking on Ricardo Ramos, the guy I love to hate and hate to love. Minus 150 for Cooleybow, 8,500. Ramos plus 130, 7,700. Minus 125 fight doesn't go, and the under is minus 105. I'll start here because I don't really have a ton on this one for DraftKings. I'm probably going to be fading this one. If anything, I like the Ramos finishing upside, but at the same time, all this dude does is stick his neck out to guys like Eve Rosa and Jourdain and get subbed and tap immediately, like way too fast for a guy that knows how to actually submit people. But yeah, I mean, Cooleybows tough. I don't see him like getting finished here necessarily unless he gets caught in something. So I will have a bit of Ramos, but at the same time, he's 7,700. I'm not really too interested in that. And Cooleybow just never scores well. 58, 75, 76 in decisions. So yeah, I'm going to be fading Cooleybow, play a little Ramos, but I'm not expecting much. Maybe somebody can tell me different. Steve, what do you see in this one that you like?
I see Cooleybow versus Ramos. And you want to break down, I assume? Alrighty.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd rather play Josh when the line has come in, and now it seems to be some buyback. So now he's back to his extremely steamed favorite line. Yeah, it's tough. I actually really like Koulibaly's game. I see a lot of people slandering him this week. I don't understand people's problems. Like he's a really solid fighter. You know, he should have beat Charles Jourdain, which is not saying much, but you know, he's a UFC fighter. You know, he rinsed Shilian Nodenbeke, who tried to wrestle him hard for 15 minutes. He dropped Sung Won Choi. I heard someone say, you know, on the Fight Numbers podcast, you know, I'll listen to it, so I'll give him a shout out. But, you know, 5 people on there, one of them is going to be wrong. And that person said that Koulibaly has no power. He legit dropped Choi 5 times only in round 1. That is just wild. The people can say that. And he also dropped Charles Jourdain. So I like his boxing. You know, against in his last fight against Danny Silva, I couldn't really play Danny Silva. I thought he was going to be a punching bag and he was going to be a bit cleaner. Shout out to my boy Pierce in the chat. You know, he had the balls to play it. And as soon as Silva dropped him in round 1, then Koulibaly just ended up landing a bunch of volume. Then won round 2 with a bunch of volume. He's a really good like pull counter. He switches stances. He can fight on the back foot. I think he should light up Ramos, but I hate Ramos. I hate the fact that he can just lose for 10 minutes straight and then throw a stupid spinning elbow and knock someone out. And
Twice.
You know, you're like, go on.
No, I just said twice. That spinning elbow bullshit. Yeah.
Good. I had him against. I had Zahabi as an underdog against him back in the day, and it was going to a 30-27. And then he lands that. That was the beginning. And then since then, he landed on a Newsom. Even when he doesn't knock people out, you know, Tahugov, he landed on him. And it's just like, this guy, Koulibaly, he loves giving up moments. He also loves giving up his back. So I actually thought his takedown defense was good against Shalian, but then, you know, we see Danny Silva. Whenever he stuffs the takedown, they just seem to get on his back. It's quite frustrating, quite annoying. You know, Ramos is going to want to get there. He's really good at getting to the back. So, yeah, I mean, just this feels accurate at the moment. You know, if he comes in, then I might poke Koulibaly. I think Koulibaly was against Choi in Australia last time. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he seemed to be really on point. You know, struck with a really high-level striker. And he was at an athletic disadvantage, at a speed disadvantage, but he was so much more technical. So he might be up for it in his home country again. He's probably going to light up Ramos, but we'll see. I can't get a read on the unders. I can't get a read on the overs. It's one of those fights.
Yeah, it's like Ramos. I mean, what do we do with this guy? Who knows what to do with it? Every time I roster him, he's tapping in a minute. Every time I don't roster him, he's spinning elbows or whatever. It's just like, my God. Lou, can you help me out? What should I do here? What do you like in this fight?
Well, I don't think I'll go on record as saying I don't think Ramos is getting submitted in the first round in this fight.
No, not by.
I'd cap that at a fairly low. I feel like there's all this talk that Ramos is a quitter. He's just looking for the door. I think it's. I mean, maybe that's part of it, but it seems like he's getting a little just sloppy at this point in his career, and he's a little bit of a front runner. I kind of favor him to win the first round here. I think Koulibaly's another guy you could live enter on. He's pretty tough. He's probably going to get up his back in the first round. You know, will Ramos hold him down the whole round? Maybe. I was looking for like takedown props and shit, but Ramos is at 3.5 at plus money. I think as the fight goes on, I trust Koulibaly more just to stay out of range of just keep it at like as far away as possible. Just keep it in striking range. But I think Koulibaly can take over as this fight goes on. I think we're probably getting like, I don't know. I feel like Koulibaly probably wins the decision. He probably wins 2 and 3. I don't have a lot of confidence. I'm like Steve said, I don't even have a good feeling about the total. You know, I guess Ramos could submit him, but I don't really see it. I think Ramos just probably win a lot of minutes with takedowns, and it would have to be like a Koulibaly, probably like an attritional. I know I'm not saying he doesn't have power. If he's landing a lot to the body, maybe Ramos will quit. But I feel like it's just a volume-based decision for Koulibaly here. So I'll pick Koulibaly. I don't have anything on it yet. I don't know. I don't really know what to do with this one, to be honest.
I don't think he'll sub him. I think Koulibaly has a really high level. He's a black belt. He's been a black belt when he entered the UFC. You just have to watch that short notice Jalen Turner fight and how much punishment he took. And an injury, he pulled his groin right before he got finished. And then he still kept surviving the rear naked chokes and the guillotine. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's tough. This guy's not going to get submitted.
And I don't think Ramos don't think Ramos can really like control him for 15 minutes. I mean,
No.
I think Kulibau's gonna have a lot of moments as the fight goes on.
He gets the back, but like he always lets it go to waste unless you're someone like that Grigori guy that was from Uruguay and then just cut him.
Yeah,
I mean, he did no damage to Aljo in that fight, like none. Just chuck him down. Aljo kept getting up. I mean, Aljo's notorious for his lack of takedown defense. So,
you know what? I just now talking about it. Sorry, Monk. I just feel like the over 2.5 could be a play here. Like we're basically just fading a spinning elbow, and it's almost a pick now. Like a lot of money's coming on the under. I'm extremely confident the Ramos won't get a sub, like the first person to sub Kulibau. And then what else we're fading? An attritional finish by Kulibau. Like he hits hard, but he's got no finishes by KO. Even when he dropped Charles Jourdain, he was like a flash knockdown. And I think what's his name, the Russian Zubara, hits a lot harder than Ramos, and he gave him a lot of punishment. And so it's probably just going to go over. To be honest, it's kind of. I think it's kind of like the same.
Fading Ramos, not flaking. Like that's what I feel like.
Pretty much. Yep. That's it. That's all you're playing. But then again, yeah, I like that rear naked choke versus Melsic, but yeah, I think Ramos is surely good enough to not get rear naked choked. If anything, it's going to be a meme guillotine. I will say he almost got guillotined by Newsom, Journey Newsom as well, watching that fight again today. But he did really well to pass. The same way he passed against Jourdain to the side control. So I'm like, this guy has good guillotine defense. That's probably why he leaves his neck in there, because he's really good at passing. But then the second and third attempts, he gets caught. Like it must be some sort of mental issue that he loses concentration in there.
And then
there will be no Journey Newsom shit talk on this show, Steve.
And then he's so good at that shit that he's like, "Oh, I'm in a guillotine. I'm stuck. I gotta tap. I'll just tap." He's like, "I'm screwed. I can't get out of this." So fucking frustrating. Here we go. Well, I'll give you another banger, Big Steve. Junior Tafa taking on Walter Walker. Nice Dagestani beard. You got to get rid of that mustache though. Minus 123 for Tafa, plus 103 for Walker. Minus 200 fight doesn't go, and the over 1.5 is actually minus 140. Steve, how do you see this one playing out between Tafa and Walker?
He gets all the good ones.
Yeah. I don't mind this actually, because this was the first fight that I had this feeling in my gut like I should lock in a play, and I was like, God damn, this is not why I taped it. I taped it to move on quickly, considering it was a pick'em. And then, someone's like, Walker, a lot of weight dropped. He's in good shape. And whenever you see that on Twitter, I'll single out Brady. No offense, Brady always like sees someone wearing a shirt on the weigh-ins, and he's like, "Oh, looks in the best shape." And then when they're in the cage, they look exactly the same. But I went on his Instagram, and 12 kilos he lost. And some people are saying that's not going to make a difference. And it's like, man, again, I'll reference my shitty white belt comps. When I drop 2 kilos, and I'm under 70 kilos, I just feel so much lighter, so much quicker. Like I feel like a complete different person. This guy was fat, and now he's 12 kilos lighter to the point that he has abs at 6'6". So I went on his Instagram. Like to drop that, all he's doing is cardio. So you can't drop 12 kilos without doing an insane amount of cardio. And he wrote on his post, he goes, came into the UFC young, dumb, really unfit. And you see, he gassed in 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. It's like you expect an improved performance from him. At least he can't look any worse. Even on his regionals, he didn't look that bad and that gassy. He went to round 4 against the Spartan right before he got signed to the UFC. And even then, he hit takedowns in round 3 against Bresky, who's extremely fleet-footed. He was running away from him. He's actually got really good wrestling for a big guy. Like he gets in on his knees and locks his hands, which is like the unstoppable takedown when you lock your hands behind their back. But yeah, I'm just thinking, what I saw from Tafa, this guy also has bad cardio. I think outside of round 1, he only has 1 win outside of round 1, and that was against this bum on the Hex regional scene in Australia. And I went to watch that just for reference. And yeah, just round 2, that bum, I think he's like 5-6, 5 wins, 6 losses. He's like hitting him, he's cracking him. He had him in a guillotine choke. It's just a super sloppy fight. And if he's patient, I think Tafa can kill anyone in round 1. But as soon as he hits you, he just implodes. It's like he gets so carried away. He wants to finish. He even let Parker Porter get in on his hips after he dropped him the first time. And I think he's going for a ride if Walker gets in on his hips. And then it's like the extent of his ground game. I posted it on my Twitter when Lima took him down. he just put up his thumb down like boo. That's how he gets up. He just does that. He gets the crowd to boo. So yeah, it's definitely dog a pass, I guess. I think Walker's still a dog, but there is that fear that what if Tafa just runs through him in round one? Like, he's also going to be improved, right? He's not going to want to lose a fight like he lost to Carl Williams. Usman. Like, but these Samoans are so bad off their back, man. You can improve so much, but they're so bad. It's just not in their DNA. So we've got a heavyweight that can grapple for 15 minutes in shape now. Yeah, that seems to be the play. But I haven't locked it in yet, just because I'm in my back to basics phase. I need some profit, and this seems like the most binary fight to try and get profit on. So I will see where the line goes. I think when the weigh-ins happen, the line is going to shift massively when they see the old six-pack on my boy Walker.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because Tafa, I mean, other than the mustache, I mean, we haven't been too impressed. Lou, how do you see this one?
I mean, I like the Walker side. Everything Steve said, I agree with. I want to add that the over 1.5 here just is, I said it earlier in the week, it's very correlated with the Walker win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fact that it's a heavyweight fight that's not juiced to the under just feels correlated with Walker getting takedowns. I forget who was saying it this week. It might have been, I forget, but they were talking about like this whole, I mean, you guys have heard this, like Makayev and Carl Williams, like this edict to like not fight boring and to not go for as many takedowns. And somebody was like, well, maybe Walker just won't go for takedowns here. This is his second fight in the UFC, and he wants to get a win. If he has to get 58 takedowns to get his first win, he's going to do it and not care what anybody tells him. Like, I think that's a really stupid narrative for this fight. And that's the thing. When Walker gets one takedown early in the round, I'm thinking that's probably the end of the round. So yeah, give me Walker. I'm not going to play decision. You're giving me plus money. I'm not getting greedy. I don't think a late finish is out of the question. To Luke's point, I don't think an early finish is out of the question. I mean, what's Tafa going to do? He's going to expend a lot of energy and I don't think he has a lot of energy to expend to get up.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, he doesn't try to get up. I think that's why Bresky was a tough opponent. Bresky gets up a lot. Against Carl Williams, he got up. Against everyone, he works his way up. And then Tafa, he just sits there. So,
and that was a debut. Look, and that's a debut. Like, some guys they have debut stunts. Like, again, like, talking about Steve, like Stuart Nickel, like, you come in the UFC and just an adrenaline dump early. It's the biggest fight of your life. Mm-hmm. Now Walker obviously like acknowledged it, taking it seriously with the workouts. Like, he's coming in here, he knows what to expect. I mean, Steve, let me ask you this: what does a Tafa decision look like? Is it just Walker not getting takedowns and being absurdly tough? Like, is it possible?
Yeah, it's possible because he's so slow and so hittable. Like, if you just watch that Spartan fight, he looked like the Spartan could have had a few moments. It just looks like the Bresky fight. I think Tafa hits a lot harder. I thought, by the way, Bresky won clear 29-28. Walker ate so much shit. He didn't do anything but like takedowns with no damage. But I think if Tafa hits you, but I think it would be, Walker maybe getting 1 or 2 takedowns, Tafa showing takedown get-ups for the first time in his life, and then just landing some calf kicks, jab, overhand right, staying on the outside. Walker showing to actually be extremely durable. And yeah, slowly gassing out. But I don't know, man. I don't know if I can see that much cardio improvement from Tafa and that much get-up improvement. Like, he would have to be a completely different fighter to stop takedowns for 15 minutes from Walker. If Walker can actually do it for 15 minutes, like he has on the regionals. And yeah, it'll be a weird fight. I don't think he's going to look like Denise, right? We see a lot of people comparing this to Denise, Carl Williams. Like, we saw Chase Sherman stuff 10 takedowns from Carl Williams, right? So why can't Denise do it? But this feels different. We haven't seen much from Tafa. I will say he does have underrated takedown defense. First layer, I know Dogfather loves to reference it. First layer takedown defense is good, but yeah, what happens when he gets taken down? That's my issue.
Yeah, well, historically, and we don't have a ton to work with, but it's not good. I mean, was controlled 55% of 6 minutes by Lima, was controlled 20% of the 80 seconds against Porter, and was controlled 80% of 15 minutes by Muhammad Usman. So to both your guys' point, I hate saying it, but it's probably a pretty binary fight. You're seeing Tafa likely getting an early finish, or more likely you're seeing Walker land those takedowns like these guys said, get that control time, probably get a decision, but there's always a chance for that finish at some point. So for DraftKings, I'm probably splitting it for GPPs. I like Walker more. I'm not playing this for cash at all. Not a chance. Here we go. Main card time. We did it. Carlos Prates, another fighting nerd, I believe. Minus 400 at this point, 9,200, taking on the return of Li Jingliang at plus 300. Minus 200 fight doesn't go, and the over 1.5 is minus 165. Let's see. Lou, start us off with this one.
Well, I got to reference something that somebody said in Steve's chat the other day, where if there were two MMA lab guys, one has to win and one has to lose just because of reasons, I guess. Well, now we have two leeches fighting back to back.
It was accurate. That's exactly what happened too.
Well, we have two leeches back to back. So does one leech have to win? And since one lost, this is tricky because I really want to bet the leech here at this number. I think plus 300s. I mean, look, I get it. It's the layoff. It's the surgery. I get it. Skill for skill. I mean, this line is inaccurate. It's, did anybody say aura yet? Okay. I was going to say, we have to have at least one person said aura in this chat for this fight. I mean, look at Prates' two fights. And Steve and I, of course, may have a bond over how awful and amazing the bet we had against Giles was, where he's just losing and then and everybody calling Steve a square.
Pretty square.
It's like lose 8 minutes and then never a doubt. Never a doubt. And then the Chuck Buffalo fight, of course, I had an absolutely shitty bet on Chuck Buffalo. Prates was pretty low volume in that, and he lands like a big knee, and that's it. I don't know. Well, I mean, I'm also a big fan of the smoking.
10% minimum.
I know that makes him value, but I see this going one of two ways. If Prates is just low volume and screwing around like he did against Giles, I think the leech can outpoint him, can win a decision here. The flip side of it is, if Prates is going to win, I really don't think it's an early KO. I mean, leech is pretty durable. I think it would be. I saw Prates in over 1.5 rounds is like plus 120 on Bet Rivers. I don't think that's a horrible play, but I'm gonna plant my flag and say the leech just outworks him for 3 rounds and stays away from dying from a big shot and wins a decision.
Well, there we go. Well, I'm a sucker, so I'm on. I like Prates this week for DraftKings. A lot of people are not going to be. Well, this is not true, but a lot of people might not be on him as big. Tom Nolan's up there. Jack Jenkins, Gamrot is $100 more. Rosenstruik's right there. If you like Stuart Nickel, he's right there. So Prates might go a little bit overlooked, especially against a veteran like Li Jingliang. You mentioned it. He hasn't fought in almost 2 years. He's 2-3 in his last 5. Winning only to Salikov and Ponzinibbio. Both those were KOs though. As you mentioned, the surgery is a question mark, but Li Jingliang's always been one tough motherfucker for sure. So I don't really see that being a thing. I like Prates here. I'm a sucker for the fighting nerds for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I absolutely love that camp, and I want to see these guys do well. So I'm rooting for him. I know Li Jingliang's never been KO'd. It could. I'm not saying it's gonna. It could happen possibly this time. I also like the over 1.5 as well, but I still like a finish there a little bit. So I'm going to be on Prates and in the hopes that he has a good performance here against an extremely tough opponent, who I'm probably counting out when I shouldn't. Li Jingliang. So Big Steve, why don't you tell me why I'm a moron thinking Prates is going to find some success here?
All right. In 17 UFC fights, the Leech doesn't have one good win. So, you could say one good win against Zaleski in China back in 2019. And then, washed Muslim Salikov, washed Santiago Ponzinibbio coming off the huge layoff. David Zawada, horrible. Dalche Albe, horrible. Zach Otto, horrible. Frank Camacho, Bobby Nash, the GOAT, Anton Zafia, Diego Lima, just all chinny, non-UFC level guys. So, and then when giving up fights against Jake Matthews, I fell for that, and I bet Leach at like slight favorite, and I was there live watching Jake Matthews dropping him all over the place for 15 minutes. I'm like, wow, this was a weird fight for Jake Matthews to show up. But now, maturing, I realize that just the Leach is not that good. And yeah, sure, the Daniel Rodriguez fight might be a robbery, but you shouldn't be losing to Daniel Rodriguez. We see what Kevin Gastelum did to him, 30-27 them on the feet. So it's like, he's slow and he's just herky-jerky. I just think it's a levels fight. Carlos Prates, he will give up minutes in round one. He's a typical Muay Thai guy. He gets reads, but, he could be the guy to kill Leach. I don't know how passion it takes, but I mean, he's going to be hitting him to the body. That left hand seems to be the touch of death as well. He throws it almost like a jab, and it just kills people. So yeah, it just seems like a passing of the torch, levels fight. And if the Leach beats him, I mean, how's he going to do it with KO? I guess I don't even know how he's going to do it in a competitive striking fight. I guess he would have to drop. He would have to drop Prates, who's got his hands are extremely low. So yeah, I'm not really feeling it at 36 years of age, to be honest.
You know how he's going to beat him?
Tell me.
By great honor and no shame. That's how he will beat him.
No, this is not. This is a different kind of Chinese fighter. This is like the one that just picks out your eyeballs and stuff. The Leach would never Sambuku from shame. It's just not his style.
I take seppuku very seriously on this program.
He does.
Okay, my bad. Didn't mean to talk about him. Seppuku.
No, I mean I take it seriously in that it needs to be mentioned every show. So I'm just glad we got it out there.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I'm glad we agree there. No aura. Yeah, that's what aura means. Aura equals honor, apparently, in this time. All right. Heavyweight banger.
By the way, you might say that Salikov was washed, but he ran through him. I mean, at least it was did what he was supposed to.
That's yeah. I mean, it also took him a whole round and a half of losing to finally do it.
How many wins does Prates have against Salikov? Yeah,
probably after fought 10 times, probably have 10 out of 10.
Prates would probably beat him in 9 seconds at this point in his career, but
no, because he would still be getting his reads 9 seconds in.
Yeah, he would take 3 minutes to throw nothing and then one shot, and that's the end of it. He'd have one significant strike and he'd win.
Kind of like Randy Brown, to be honest.
Yeah. There we go. Who's doing this one? I think Jairzinho, Rosenstruik, Tai Tuivasa. We've got a minus 220 for Jairzinho, 8,900. Tai Tuivasa coming off 4 L's in a row, plus 185, 7,300. Minus 600, fight doesn't go. And the under 1.5 is minus 200. I think I will start this one off. Yeah, easy for me to start this off. Just play this one in GPP. Somebody's probably, hopefully, getting knocked out. I know I've seen some people going to be sweating the over. I've seen that. I can see how that happens, but man, Tai Tuivasa is worrisome lately. I mean, Cyril Gane, of course, he almost went 15 minutes there, but Sergey got KO'd in a minute. Volkov subbed him in the second round, and then Tai Burra, the most worrisome of all. So 4 L's in a row, man. 31 years old. I hope he sticks around. I love Tuivasa, but how much does he want to be here? I do have concerns there because he's not, he's never a high volume guy. He's always the guy that gets it done with the big knockout. Granted, that power does carry over into the second and to the third round, and we've seen him with okay cardio late. So that's not consistent, but we have seen it. Rosenstruik, we've seen him go all 15 minutes. We've seen him go 20 minutes, and we've seen him go less than 30 seconds with a knockout win. So long story short, play these guys. I favor Rosenstruik slightly just because I have concerns about Tuivasa and where his head's at after 4 L's in a row. Big Steve, what do you think here? Does Tai Tuivasa have more of a shot than I'm giving him?
Probably. He said he's going to be more patient, which is the main issue with Tai. The most patient he's ever been was against Gane, and that was his best performance. He barely lost round 1, but it's hard to win at distance against Cyril Gane. And then round 2, he dropped him. And then Gane said, F this, I'm competitive with this fat Samoan guy. And then he just started killing him. and almost knocked him out. That's the first time we've seen any aggression from Gane. Yeah, it feels like it's going to look value. You know, how can it not be? I think Ty is actually the better. He's got the better footwork. He's quite fleet-footed and he's faster. But then I think old mate Jairzinho is the one with the touch of death. You know, if he just throws anything, he just kind of runs through people. I think Ty, durable, and I'm considering the over 1.5 rounds. But then, you know, it's one of those ones where Ty just implodes. You know, round one against Sakai and Lewis, you know, nothing happens. And then I should say Sakai, a lot happened against Lewis, actually. He was hurt multiple times. And then against Sakai, just comes out there and just knocks him out against the cage. So I have to look into the clinching. I know Ty likes to clinch. That's how he knocked out Sakai and Lewis back-to-back. Maybe he can get some clinch work off against Jairzinho. You know, Jairzinho's backing up and then ends up against the cage. And unlike Gaziev, he's actually going to throw something. Gaziev was just grabbing onto him, trying to take him down and failing. Yeah, I know you're shaking your head, but I actually played Gaziev, so there you go. And I didn't exit live as much as I should have. But yeah, it's just hard. It's hard. So much volatility in Thai fights, and Jairzinho minus 200. I can't do it. He's just going to stare at him until something happens. But I think Ty can knock him out. You never know. We've seen Volkov knock him out one punch. So overs and Ty is what I would play personally. If I was forced, maybe half a unit each. Surely they don't both lose, but yeah.
There we go, Lou. Lou, what do you like here? Do you agree with the over? I saw you nodding your head. What do you like about that?
Yeah, that was one of the plays I got in, and Dogfather and I were talking about that on Monday. Is the over a lot of value here? You know, all these losses for Tuivasa, like, and like it almost made me want to look at the Rosenstrike submission, like just like the scenes if he went for a takedown in the first, and like it's plus 3,000. I mean, I'm not.
I was gonna say.
But I mean, the guys that Tuivasa's lost to, like, he's not getting taken down here. So I think you can write off the Volkov and Tybura. Like, let's take them out of the picture. Pavlovich, unlike Rosenstrike, is like a super front-loaded, fast starter who just immediately wants to go. And Tuivasa got caught. And then the Gane fight, like Steve said, I mean, he had success. I think all the body work from Gane, there was a lot of body work in that second round, where Tuivasa finally started. You could see he was wilting in the third, but a lot of moments, just enough body shots from Gane really took its toll. Rosenstrike's not really a guy who works the body a lot. I mean, he's patient. He's content to just stay on the outside. I don't think he's going to push a pace here. I have fight starts round 2 at even money. If Tuivasa is more patient, if he's throwing more leg kicks and just kind of staying out of that immediate range of Rosenstrike, I think it goes to the second round at a pretty decent clip. Tuivasa 2-3, 7-1. I don't think that's horrible. I don't really want to take a side here. I just like the fight starts round 2 at even money.
That's not bad. It's probably the best bet. Right before Ty starts to implode.
I mean, as much as I want to do the over 1.5, you get like this, you know, the slow building striking battle where Tuivasa just land on a couple things. And then the second round starts and he's like, all right, fuck this. Like, and both of them are like, the hell with this shit. Like, let's go. And then like, so it's a bonk a minute later. So I don't think they're going to do that like with 30 seconds left in the first. I think it's good. Now that I said that, bet 4 minutes and 30 seconds for the finish in round 1.
He did hit some damage from Volkov at the end of round 1. I thought he was doing well in that fight until Volkov started countering him and taking him down. It was lighting him up. He was happy to brawl with him.
Yeah, he definitely has his moments, man, especially in the bigger fights. It's always surprising in a good way, because who doesn't love to see a Tai Tuivasa win? I mean, the scenes are always great.
Flying triangle for the win. And not to keep pimping it, but every Monday, Fight Factor, Dogfather and I will give you one crazy bet a week that hits. Denise decision. Although Steve does a show before us, so like we might just plagiarize it completely and take credit for it. I'm not sure. Yeah. Oh, before we move on, hey Steve, I've been using your line all week, but I've been giving you credit on all these shows. The Jenkins Burns fight, the man of 1,000 cuts versus the man you only need to cut twice.
Yeah. I like that one myself.
Yeah, that's pretty poetic if you ask me. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know. You'll have to ask the UFC. They don't fucking upload any of the pictures ever until the fight's over. It's really stupid. He probably does. I'm sure his hair doesn't look like this anymore either. Here we go. Mateusz Gamrot taking on the aforementioned Dan Hooker, minus 350 at this point for Mateusz, plus 285. The absolute Hooker disrespect here. Plus 180. Fight doesn't go, and the over 2.5 is minus 260. Big Steve, please start us off here with the Gamrot Hooker fight.
This doesn't feel like a fight that I should be talking about based on
it's all leading up. The rotation's all leading up so you can end on the main event. So don't worry.
I guess there's no more crappy cards for the rest of the things. So I'll take crappy fights. I get it. Popular dog, Mr. Hooker. And it just reminds me how hard it is to find any footage of him anti-grappling, because I did the same thing when the whole world played him against Plessis. And that was rough. That was, the last time he was actually mauled on the ground, ignoring Makhachev, was in his featherweight career. And another fight I was there live for was when he fought Jason Knight. I think that was Melbourne, my first ever UFC, Whittaker versus Brunson main event. He came out to Scribe. Beautiful entrance. I don't know if anyone knows Scribe. He's a New Zealand rapper. He only has one song that went platinum and then nothing else and retired. But amazing song. And then, Jason Knight just mauled him. Easy takedowns, double legs, controlled him in the back. And then he makes his way to lightweight. And, he gets taken down easy by Jim Miller, but instantly kicks off. So we've got some get-ups there. He stuffs everything from Mark Diakese, who, traditionally really physical, good wrestler. And then he catches him in the guillotine. So that was enough for me to lock in a play against old mate Puelles. So I just repeated that again just to remind myself. Some good takedown defense against Alia Quinta. So these are really old fighters, like just no proper wrestlers. Burns tried and failed. So if anything, his distance management is the best. He's really technical, stays on the outside. He forces people to shoot bad shots, which Gamrot's going to do, right? He shoots from ages away and he shoots on the ankles, which traditionally, if you ask DC, he hates that stuff. But hey, if you're really good at wrestling and the ankle picks, it's good. It works for him. So I think that's that way he stays out of danger by shooting really low, really far away, and you can't hit a knee or anything like that. But he still ate a knee from RDA. So it's a dog or pass. I get it. How can you not, play Hooker when you watch Gamrot? And I'm a fan of Gamrot. It's a style that's hard to beat. I think he even beat, what's his name? The dude that beat him in his debut, short notice. Just lost to Vucenic. Kutataladze. I think he beat him too. So technically you got him losing one fight out of, 10 in the UFC. But yeah, he gives up moments. You got to expect he's going to give up some moments against Hooker. Hooker, really, really good single leg. He loves to teep. That's what I hate about him. He loves to throw the kicks out there and he's slow, even though they're going to get caught. But his single leg defense is amazing. He bounces out on it. We saw against Fiziev. He caught Fiziev's leg, and Fiziev done the same thing. Just lifted up his leg in the air, and Fiziev extreme good balance. So we might see some foreshadowing there. But I think Hooker can get tackled. He can get tackled quite easy with a double. Makhachev did it. Jim Miller did it. So if he just double leg his hips, he's going to fall over easy. So I think that's the Gamrot takedown that he should go for, not a shoot for singles. But yeah, I haven't locked in Hooker. The line just kept improving since my friend told me to look into it. So avoided some CLV reversals. Something to brag about because since I got no bets this week. But yeah, I think Hooker slows down in round 3, which is also an issue. I think he's kind of washed. We didn't really see Jalen Turner take advantage of that because he also slowed down at the same time when Hooker would slow down. So how is his cardio going to look in round 3? He might win one. The other round might be competitive. And then now Hooker is tired and lumbering. And Gamrot is still shooting those takedowns, and he's got great cardio. He did look a bit off against RDA, so I don't really want to take that. I want to take that with a grain of salt. I want to take the fights where Gamrot is 100%, and then see if Hooker has a chance. I don't want to watch one fight and see, oh yeah, he looked bad there, he's going to lose to Hooker. So yeah, I think it's dog or pass, but I'm just waiting. Maybe live bet is a good spot too, but we'll see.
There we go. Lou, what do you think about this one?
I was going to try to get clever with the same game parlay with Gamrot takedowns, first round takedowns, all this. But my God, It's like minus 525 for one takedown in the first. I almost wonder if you could play like the takedowns for Gamrot and maybe Hooker to have more significant strikes. I think this is tricky to bet because while you could make an easy case for Gamrot, just rinse repeat for 15 minutes, and as the third round goes on, probably gets one takedown and that would end the round. You got to feel like Hooker's going to have the moments, like any moment it's going to be damaged. The crowd's going to like be rocking with him. Could he steal a round? Maybe. I feel like he's your value loser of the week, unfortunately, where, you know, Gamrot gets takedowns, doesn't do any damage. Hooker maybe wins like the last 30 seconds of the first and the second rounds, but Gamrot just 29-28s him across the board or something. Even the plus 3.5, which I know Steve is not a fan of the spread bets.
No.
I feel like something's off there too. So I'm laying off this completely. I think Gamrot decision's gross. It's like minus 170. It's like completely just a gross number. But yeah, I think if you play Hooker, at this number, you know, if he can get up, if he has any kind of get ups here, he's probably going to win the first 2 rounds. Just based on like the power.
Are you bullish on his new midlife crisis look with the beard and the million tattoos and the bleached hair at like 35 years of age?
I mean, look, a lot of porn stars go through it. I think it's a good reinvention of your career. I didn't really talk about hookers at all during this breakdown. I feel like I've let down our audience who expects
Andy's $6,900.
And he's $6,900.
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while for this old chunk of coal. I don't know what a hooker costs anymore, but I know there's like areas of Philly. It's probably still $10 for a reach around.
Yeah, I don't think inflation's hit that industry too much.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
That's all I had for hooker jokes for this episode.
I don't have too much to add. I agree with you. I think Gamrot decision is definitely likely. And if you're looking at his score against RDA and you're like, oh, I got to play this guy. Well, he also put up 85 against Turner. He also put up 84 against Fiziev in a finish. Well, Fiziev got hurt in that fight, but it didn't go to the judges. So I'm not too, excited to play him at 9,300 in a decision. Like whatsoever, even in a finish, like if he scores 80-90 points, you're going to probably need a little bit more than that. And I think he's going to be way over-owned as well. So I'm kind of looking to pivot off of Gamrot. Hooker, I think, is a fine punt play. I'd put him in more, but I honestly don't think he's going to win. So both of these guys, extremely impressive strength of schedules, though, probably the 2 best on the entire card. I mean, they just fight killer after killer after absolute killer for the most part. So it's going to be very fun to watch. Every Dan Hooker fight is fun to watch, but I'm going to have to choose Gamrot here, and I'm going to lay off of him a bit for DraftKings. These last 3 fights, I'm kind of laying off for DraftKings. Is it, though? Is it Gamer? I guess it is, but it's like half of his fucking last name. That's not really a lot of effort. Just threw an E in the middle of Gamrot, and
like
you know
hockey, wherever. That's like we're hockey. We're like your name is Jones, and your nickname's going to be
Jonesy.
Jones.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's pretty fucking low effort, Dogfather, if you ask me. Steve Ursig, co-main event, taking on Kai Kara France, minus 170 for Ursig, 8,800, plus 145 for Kai Kara France, and 7,400 there. The fight goes, I believe that's supposed to say minus 215, and the over 2.5 is minus 245. Let's see here. Lou, start us off with this one. What do you like in the Ursig Kara France co-main event?
I have concerns with the Ursig side solely because he's coming off like a title match where he was very close to winning the title. So historically, this is where I would cite like, okay, there could be a mental letdown. But the facts are that, and it's not to say that Ursig isn't skilled enough to get a title shot. It's that the path to his title shot was pretty fast. Like he didn't have like 8 fights in the UFC, slowly working his way up. Like it was kind of a product of circumstance. So I don't think there's like a huge letdown on the Usyk side mentally coming into this. I like the Usyk submission here. And before anybody tells me about Kai Kara France's takedown defense, this is where Steve, I mean, Big Steve knows Usyk since the jump, like was talking about this guy. It's not like he goes for a lot of takedowns. It's like a lot of his submissions are he knocks you down and jumps on you. Like, so I don't think Kai Kara France's takedown defense is going to matter. Like if he gets bonked, which he's chinny, if he gets bonked and goes down, I think that's where Usyk grab the submission. So yeah, I'm just not a big Kai Kara France guy. Like, I think Usyk can blink and it's okay. Despite his nickname of Don't Blink, I think Usyk will blink many times and survive. I mean, even on the feet, I think Usyk's tough. I think if anybody's going to rock the other one, it's going to be Usyk rocking Kai Kara France. If he does get a knockdown, I think that's all she wrote. So I like Steve Usyk here by submission. I like him money line, all of it.
This one's kind of easy for me. I'm fading this one in big tournaments. I'll play Kai Kara France in cash because he's cheap, and I like Tom Nolan, so I got to get some guys up there. I like Carlos Prates, so I got to get some guys that are down below, and I don't mind Kara France mostly because I think this is going to decision, and he is the third best scorer, not only in losses. Hold on, I think he's averaging like 35.5 points when he does lose, but when he loses by decision, he's scoring upwards of 66 and 67 in unanimous and split decision. So even in losses, this guy scores well. I think he can do that if this goes all 15 minutes. I don't see Steve Usyk really finishing him, and even if he does, he finished Matt Schnell early in the second, and he only ended up with 93 points. I don't know if that's going to get it done at his salary. So I'm not too stoked to go out and just throw Usyk in my lineups. Like I said, I don't like this fight for GPPs, but I do like Kai Kara France for cash, even in a losing effort, because I am picking Steve Usyk to win probably by decision. Steve, what do you think about this co-main event here?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one for me. I like Steve. I like him, and the only fight I didn't play him in was the main event against Pantoja. I just thought one more fight against someone like Kai, for example, of that level would have been perfect to see where he's at, if he actually deserves a title shot. And then we ended up seeing that he made a lot of IQ mistakes in that fight. But at the same time, I also thought he did better than expected. So I thought Pantoja was going to have him covered on the feet because he just has no defense, keeps eating overhand rights. Pantoja couldn't land any of them. He seemed to be scared. I think he had a few big shots from Usyk and kind of really wanted to grapple and do nothing else, which also kind of gassed him out a bit. And it turned into a damage versus control kind of fight, which Steve made quite close. But yeah, easy click against Dvorak. He was $3.50 plus 250. I played him against Costa because I've never been a fan of Costa. I think he's chinny, low volume. I even played him against Kevin Borjas, one of the worst bets. So I paid my price there. But now I kind of think maybe that was a good performance. I thought, Steve was 60% there. And I thought if this has got 1-1 going into the third, Steve was going to do the smart thing. And he did. He just held up Costa against the cage the whole time. He's probably going to do that here as well. But I just think it's competitive. I think Kai is literally the best guy he's fought other than Pantoja. Right? I think if you give Kai Kara France Matt Schnell, he runs through him in like 30 seconds with one overhand right. He gives him the Cody Garbrandt treatment. We know what they're doing with Schnell. They actually gave Alexander Costa to Schnell, which is just sad. Like this, they gave him literally the hardest hitter in the division. It's this poor guy. So yeah, R.I.P. Schnell. So yeah, I think these guys are well matched. Kai already had an interim title fight against Moreno, and I thought he was beating Moreno up until he ate a liver shot and got knocked out. If you look at that fight, Moreno's face is busted up. The cheek is bleeding. He kept walking into overhand rights. When Kai lets go, he actually has really good fluid hands. And even Schnell wobbled Usyk in round 1. So just tall man's defense with not much head movement. So I think this is competitive on the feet, but I do edge Usyk being more technical. He strikes the 1-2s and they're so down the line. It's beautiful. And he can counter as well. Whereas Kai's, skirt on the octagon, run away, back up, calf kick, back up, wait for a big shot, and then he blitzes him with a big shot. Maybe he gets dropped by Usyk there, because Usyk's counters against Pantoja, they looked amazing. The best I've ever seen him in the pocket. So, but yeah, I can't play this line on Usyk. I mean, it's literally the same line as Costa, and I think Kai France is more well put together than Costa. So And he's not cheating either. And I will say to Lou, who, he asked me a question before, I do think that Usyk has, tragic wrestling. It's really bad. So I don't really want to rely on him, just going out there and taking Kai down, which I think he'll struggle with.
Well, like I said, I don't think he's going to get a takedown more than if he gets a knock. Like his submissions are just because he knocked a guy down and jumped on him. It's not even
yeah. But that's also in Eternal MMA. He hasn't actually knocked down someone and submitted in the UFC yet. And if he was going to do it, it would have been with Dvorak. I think Dvorak's a bit chinny and had a couple of deep guillotines. And he was in mount against Costa too, and he kind of couldn't do anything there. But it's possible.
Coming in blasting 28-1s, no big deal.
It's possible. It's possible. Old mate Kai always slows down in round 3 when he had those Tyson Nam fights and someone else. He's goes up 2-0 and then loses the third with 29-28. But yeah, I don't like anything in this fight. Some people play the Usyk better line after money's coming on Kai. I get it. If anything, it just feels accurate to me now. It's going to be Australian crowd noises. Kai's going to be up for it as well. So,
yeah, he always seems to be up for those for sure. Did you do this one, Lou? I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he went okay, I thought so. I just didn't want to skip you.
His breakdown was about how wrong I was. So yeah,
that's true. Well, speaking of wrong, let's see how this will play out. Because I hate playing Israel Adesanya every time. We've got Dricus du Plessis and Israel Adesanya. We've got a pick'em right now. Du Plessis might be on the left on your screen, but he is the DraftKings underdog at 7,900. Adesanya's 8,300. Fight doesn't go is minus 145, and the over 4.5 is plus 100. Yeah, good point. I know who I'm fading, and it's Israel Adesanya. There's not a salary. I mean, he'd have to be $6,100 for me to play him. This dude never scores well. This is the Monk pick of the week guy that he says never scores well. That's probably going to score 1,000,000 points, but he's only scored 90 points. I think 46% of his wins, and he's only put up 100. I think it's like 38, 37%. So those numbers are very low. They're all at the beginning of his career for the most part. I mean, he put up 96 against Pereira, but then, 85 against Cannonier, 75 against Whitaker. We're just, what Israel's game is, and you know exactly what he doesn't do. And he doesn't do the things that tend to score you the most points in DraftKings. Meanwhile, Dricus, I don't have a problem playing him. He's consistently a better scorer against equal competition, in my opinion. Scoring 118, 113, 119 against Whitaker, against Strickland. He put up 125 against Till. So I like Dricus here. He's had the miracle nose surgery. There's no USADA anymore. I'm leaning du Plessis, and I like how he's cheaper on DraftKings, so I will be playing him. Again, Adesanya, I fade him every single time. If he comes out here and puts up 110, then it is what it is, and I'll lose this week. But I don't mind losing against Adesanya, but like I said, it's very, very sporadic for him. So I'll be fading him as usual. Lou, what do you like here in the main event?
Before I start, here's everybody that I think is a mush unanimously is on DDP. So it's already fucking with my head, including the guy who will remain nameless that said he really hopes DDP wins because his tweet got a lot of likes. It didn't get as many likes as me talking about Meng Ding kicking some dude in the sack, but still it got likes. So moving past the fact that all these people are on one side, there's a lot we just don't know. Now Adesanya, I think we tend to romanticize these dominant performances. People think he's yeah, he's had good performances. His striking's good, but other than the Costa fight, when have you ever seen him literally from the jump just look like an absolute killer? And I realize he knocked out the
last one.
He knocked out Pereira in the second round. I get it. He was losing that whole fight, which is strange because he was winning the previous fight. And he looked good, but he wasn't savaging Pereira. He was outstriking him. So if you're on the Adesanya side, what are you basing it on? That he comes out hot. Duplessis is a slow starter. You're basing it that he comes out hot, that he stuffs takedowns, or at least doesn't get controlled, and that over 5 rounds, it's volume, volume, volume. If you're betting Duplessis, like, what are you betting? You're betting that he gets takedowns, or that he just does what he fucking does every fight, where he just finds a way and he bonks. Right. Like, you can't cap like the our guy Gugabe would call him like a bonk lord. He's not like a total bonk lord, but yeah. So that's the thing. Like, could Izzy come out in the first round like just angry dude and starch him? I guess, but Duplessis, even though he's hittable, like, it's pretty durable. Like, he fights through like getting hit. I think this is just a really weird fight where Adesanya probably gets the first round, and then we'll see how much wrestling. Like, I think if it's standing for 25 minutes, I don't automatically assume Adesanya won. Right. And I think Duplessis can land big shots on Adesanya. I tend to think this is. I gave out the Duplessis sub on the prop show. I think it's viable. I'm going to stick with that as my play. I have no confidence on the side here. Gave it out Wednesday morning. I have like so little confidence in the side here. Like, and last thing I'll add before we pass it to Steve is that I love talking about horrible bets I've made in my life. There's so many. I mean, we don't have enough time. But on this very show a while ago, I remember picking Cyril Gane over John Jones. Ooh. And I don't even remember the reason. I've blocked out a lot of it. But that's one of those things you go back, you're like, oh, I could have had John Jones at like minus 110. Like, and I didn't take it. Like,
in the year of our Lord 2023.
Like, what the fuck did I do? I didn't take him in my how did I miss like just that opportunity? And I'm just wondering here, and I'm not comparing Adesanya to John Jones in terms of like historical greatness and dominance, but is this just one of these times where you're going to look at this line and be like, holy shit, we could have had Adesanya at like almost a pick him. And like, he just absolutely dominated. Like, and Duplessis just could not get anything off in this fight. Like, that's a viable thing too, but I don't know.
The last time he was close, he was minus 130 against Predetta.
I feel like Duplessis didn't use takedowns against Strickland to actually get control. I feel like he went for takedowns more to just disrupt Strickland's rhythm. Because he was like, he'd get him down against the cage. He'd half hard go for the back. Strickland's get up game's decent. Like, but he was just using it more as a disruption. I wonder if he does the same thing here. Just more like, but I mean, I think Adesanya just throws a lot more knees than Strickland does. It's tricky, but I'm going to stick with what I said, that Duplessis eventually gets a takedown and gets a submission. We'll say round 3.
There we go. Steve, Adesanya has been 35 years old for 24 or 25 days now. We all know the stat about these guys in weight classes fighting for titles and losing. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, I mentioned that on my early tease without any tape. I don't know if I want to look into it too much. Remember, the last person to break that was Bilal Muhammad, and I wish I went bigger on that bet. You just kind of have to ignore that stuff sometimes. It's just noise that makes you second guess your leans that are usually good. But yeah, I mean, Izzy's good. I taped this just right before the show because after a couple of fights, I felt like I'd pick him. I'm not going to get a strong read, so I'll leave it for later in the week. And yeah, I guess I kind of lean that way. It's hard not to, even though I've been on Duplessis the whole way through, it's easy to play him against Darren Till and Derek Brunson. I even played him against Tavares. I think it was a pick 'em. But then you still see those things where he's really reacting really weird and gets leg kicked and stupid takedown attempts that are very rushed and abrupt. And then you watch Izzy, and I can't remember the last time I was impressed by his performance. Obviously knocking out Alex Pereira, whatever. I think Pereira at middleweight is a completely different person, durability wise and confidence. And the guy looks huge. Like, how did he even make that weight? And it was behind the ear. both times Izzy cracked him was behind the ear. I watched a nice little breakdown where they say Izzy just had a game plan in both those fights to hit him behind the ear, and you could just see how he just targets it. It's pretty cool. The only other time he knocked someone out was Costa. He clipped him behind the ear too, and then he finished him off with a head kick, I think it was. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Du Plessis, the best way to describe this guy is like an enhanced Marvin Vittori in every way. And watching that fight right before we went on the show, he took Izzy like 3 times, and he had his hands locked behind his waist a lot more than that. And I don't see a way that Du Plessis is not in that deep and he doesn't take Izzy for a ride. I think his wrestling is next level compared to Vittori. I think his power is next level. I think he can switch from both stances. I'm going out on a limb, but I'm going to say he definitely has the longer reach than Vittori. Vittori is just a one-dimensional pressure boxer from southpaw, and it's quite slow. So, yeah, I've never been impressed. I wasn't impressed with that win. I'm not impressed with the Whitaker rematch where some people were screaming robbery. I'm not impressed with the Jared Cannonier fight, which is the worst fight to tape every single time, but I kind of had to do it here because another explosive guy with power. And Cannonier was landing on them, but it's just kept eating the leg kicks. And Cannonier is the worst. We saw against Imavov, same thing, He gets him against the cage and just holds him there. And it's like, why are you doing that? Like, he was losing minutes against Imavov by doing that. And he did the same thing with Izzy. It's like, if you're going to go against the cage, either land strikes or go for a takedown. Don't just keep him there while you're eating rabbit punches and lose. It's horrible. I think if DDP is a lot more set in his ways. If he's holding you up against the cage, he's going to be looking to dump you. He's going to blitz. But then I'm kind of nervous about Izzy's counters. When I always thought from day one that if he's going to blitz like that with his chin up in the air, that Izzy was going to be the one to counter him. But then I'm also feeling like that's a little bit of the noise coming in because everyone is talking about the counters from Izzy. And I'm just feeling like if I like DDP, which I kind of do, maybe I got to shut that out. Yeah, Izzy might catch him, but how is this going to look in the 5 rounds where Du Plessis is kind of adjusting, switching left and right, pressuring, mixing in takedowns? But yeah, that Strickland fight was really close. I think you can give it to Strickland. I live bet DDP. After round 1, he was $3 something plus 250. I just felt like he was coming on, and I reminded myself just how slim margins Strickland is. I think Izzy is a bit better than Strickland, even though what we saw in that last fight, I think he has more power than Strickland. I think he's the much better kickboxer. I think that's non-debatable. He can switch. He can fight on the back foot. So, yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like Pick'em is accurate, but I could see DDP looking massive favorite here. So, the one fight I didn't watch is the Strickland fight. So, I should probably do that after the show and decide. I think that's the best he's looked. So, yeah, it's hard. I'm kind of leaning the overs, to be honest. I don't know how the finish happens here. But the last over I played in the main event was Tabura, so yeah, maybe get burnt with another armbar from guard.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Fucking, they're joking about it 2 seconds before it happens. Just absolutely crazy. Some day 1 armbar on Marcin Tybura. There you have it.
Sorry, I gotta add.
Yeah, go ahead.
The first thing I was gonna say, and I forgot, was I also was on Gun Lou against John Jones, and it's fine because that was a fix. So just want to say that.
But we were on the wrong side of the fix. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We could have gotten a good price on the right side of it.
And they gave us 1 week of clues, and I ignored them. I've talked about this many times. I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, there were so many clues there. Obvious clues.
I know sometimes they're not so obvious till the end. You're like, what the fuck was I doing? But yeah, there we go, guys. All 12 fights broken down for UFC 305. Please thanks Big Steve. We thank Big Steve for coming on. I love having him on. I love his insights to the fights personally. So I really, really like having him on. Steve, please tell the people where they can find you. Anything you want to promote, now's the time.
Just the Big Brain MMA podcast. I do my early leans. I do Dana White Contender Series. I do whatever. I try to give my bets, but 9 out of 10 times I don't have any bets on. So just listen to my breakdowns, I guess. And yeah, I won't be doing a show for this because it will be my 3rd show this week. So yeah, this is it. This is my breakdowns for you guys. I've done my tape. So hopefully your fans enjoyed it.
There we go. I know they did for sure. Our guys love this stuff. They love being ridiculous, but they love the actual insight as well. Lou, please tell the people what's going on over here.
I mean, even our audience wants like an actual capper on once in a while. I get sick of my shit. So thanks for coming on, Steve. Monk, is always a pleasure. Did a lot of shit this week on the channel. Fight Factor every Monday with Dogfather. Prop show with Aussie Fight Fan Wednesday morning. But I don't care about that because I only look ahead. What I care most about, even though this is an MMA show, is 10 a.m. tomorrow Eastern. The first. I said on Thursday, Dogfather. Yeah, you're an actual capper. You've been on the show before. That was an insult at me, you motherfucker. It's not about you, dude.
Yeah, it's always a bad Dogfather. It's like a crazy ex-girlfriend.
10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. I'm breaking down the entire EPL slate. It's week 1 of the Premier League. Breaking down the whole EPL slate. Bets, props. And then on top of that, I'll finish with all my other fucking stupid shit like championship, Eredivisie, all that. And then the week after that, the Bundesliga comes back. So I'll be doing all my soccer shit. Quick show. I know people that are going to watch it are not going to want like 10-minute breakdowns. I'm happy to do it. That's a sport I can break down. But probably just quick. Here's what I'm on. And I'll just tell you right now, I do like United and over 1.5 at -135. I like Garnacho to score at +175. Big Steve knows. I think this dude is going to have an absolute monster year, and the days of us getting +175 for him to score are not going to last long at all. He's going to go down to like +120 every game, like he's fucking Kai Havertz or some shit.
Who's the jizz tits of this season?
Jizz and tits.
Oh, nice.
Oh no, there's a dude. There's a dude on a Norwegian team. Oh, Steve, you'll appreciate this. His last name's Harder. It's like Callum Harder. So like, if you don't think the Harder jizz tits parlay is, I mean, it has to.
Even a jizz harder.
Like they're like in the middle of the Norwegian season.
You just messed that up, dude.
What should
you meant to say? You meant to say jizz tits harder. And he said harder jizz tits.
Phil Tits debuts next week, and Hornkamp's already played because the Eredivisie started, so he's on Heracles. So next week's the official first jizz tits parlay.
Yes,
it will hit somehow like 5 times this year. It'll be my only 5 wins of the year.
Love it. Yeah, and I don't have much else. The show that I'm trying to remember the name of that I do, Bankroll or Bust, is out. We had Lou Betya, Gordo on, and Couch Warrior as well, so check that out. Otherwise, that is it for UFC 305, guys. Thank you so much. Hit the like and the sub on your way out. And as usual, we want all of you to enjoy the fight. So enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.